So that's Joe Manchin, and that's Tommy Tuberville basically saying, listen, we got to have some sort of parameters around this. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football back at it again. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be updated on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also, the like button too, as well as the follow button on Twitter, because your boy doing his thing over there. However, without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, I made a video yesterday talking about name, image, and likeness because I think it's really important to understand that there's legislation coming through, there's changes that are happening. Yesterday's video was about the fact that a lot of medical providers are worried that their liabilities are going to go up as these players in college football and their salaries go up. So with that, we also want to talk about here that, first of all, we have to, people know that name, image, likeness, right now, it's the Wild Wild West, it's these collectives, according to Dion, whatever. There's, again, it is better that they are compensated adequately for their name, image, and likeness in the extreme cases for sure. Everybody knows that Drake May was getting screwed before. You know, everybody knows that Caleb Williams was getting screwed before. Tim Tebow was getting screwed before. Where, oh, you're not allowed to make money off of your name, image, and likeness because you're an amateur. However, we're the university. We're going to make as much money as we want. I understand that perspective here. However, it looks like they want to address some of the excesses of NIL to make sure that there are some legislation in place, because right now it's the Wild West. As a matter of fact, Senator Tommy Tuberville and Senator Joe Manchin, you'll remember Tommy Tuberville was former Auburn head coach, and Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia have been railing against this, and they have two articles here. One, we're going to go over, talks about kind of what they think about the whole situation, and two, what they're attempting to do through it with a bill. Let's get into that real quick. So here we are on usatoday.com. And again, this happened June 7th, about a week ago. It says, Senator Tommy Tuberville, college sports name, image, and likeness rules a disaster. It says Tommy Tuberville, Republican from Alabama, said Wednesday that current NCAA rules and state laws concerning NCAA athletes' ability to make money from the name, image, and likeness are a disaster. And he also appeared to express his distaste for athletes' relatively new ability to freely change schools. Now, again, the second part there is more of the old coaching. Oh, you got to stay where you're at. Meanwhile, Tommy Tuberville could move, places wherever he wanted to. His players had to stay. That wasn't a fair situation. He says in a video provided by his office, Tuberville said he was meeting Wednesday with various college sports constituents to discuss the situation as he and Senator Joe Manchin, the Democrat from West Virginia, continue to refine a bill that he said is now in text form. Today, we are meeting with coaches, athletic directors, and administrators from several different conferences here in Washington, D.C., talking about the disastrous new NIL rules, and they are a disaster, Tuberville said. Says he expressed his support for college athletes to be compensated, but, and again, I feel like I feel so much that this is the coach and I'm talking, but question the current NCAA transfer situation. In recent years, those regulations have been changed so that in nearly all instances, athletes in all sports can transfer at least once without having to sit out for a season. Under the previous rules, in most cases, athletes in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball who transferred from one D1 school to another had to sit out for a season. Again, if they went down from, it should say FBS, they're from D1 FBS to D1 FBS, they would have to sit out a year. If they went to FCS, they could play immediately. There have been some loosening of those rules for athletes who had earned their undergraduate degrees before using their 4 years of eligibility, and for football players moving from bowl subdivision to a championship subdivision. There you go, they addressed it right there. But with the new rules and the new advent of the transfer portal, rosters are now being reshaped annually. Now, I tell you this, I could just say in that good old Southern drawl he had for Tuberville, I'm for players being able to be compensated for their hard work in athletics as well as academics. We have to come to some kind of agreement where we can help out NCAA make improvements to this runaway NIL situation that we're in as we speak. Players transferring at any time, players making deals with the help of sports agents and schools, and then not being compensated after making those deals. He's talking about the Jaden Rashada situation there. Oh, here's the deal. Oh, here's the deal. They sign. Oh, the deal backed away. That kind of situation. He wants to address that. I don't mind it. He says, we're looking out for the player as much as for the university, but we're looking out for education and we're looking out for sanctity of college sports. I hate it when they say that because the sanctity of college sports went away when, the Big Ten signed for multiple billions of dollars. Okay, it's a professional athlete at this point, whatever your definition of professional could be your own, but for the most part, it basically is that. We want to make sure we can continue to afford women's athletics as well as men's athletics. So we'll meet here in a week. We'll have some discussions. We have a text of a bill already finished. We're going to make improvements to it. Joe Manchin and I have been working on this for at least a year. But our universities and colleges, our athletes, our coaches, our administrators, and our fans need a lot of help with this because this is out of control and we cannot sustain this. And if we don't get some kind of control, we will not have the same product on the field. We will not graduate as many students through education, and it will be a disaster when it comes to having only a few people being able to afford this across the country, basically cutting out the middleman and the little guy. He is talking there about how it looks like we're headed for some type of a power two. I actually highly doubt that because, first of all, I don't think that the Indianas, the Purdues, and the Rutgers, and the Marylands, they're going to be that good because they haven't been that good. As much as they're going to get money through that, that deal, it's a college university. They'll find a way to spend it. Trust me, I don't think they'll have an issue there. So that's Joe Manchin, and that's Tommy Tuberville basically saying, listen, we got to have some sort of parameters around this. And again, I don't mind that. Most people who are free market absolutists, I'm a free market absolutist, need some sort of rule out there because if it's the Wild Wild West, then might is right. Although at the end of the day, you could argue, the libertarian argument is like eventually it will work itself through. I don't know about that whole situation. All I know is that legislation will come through. We need to see it. We're seeing it from the Democrats and the Republicans combining together to address the situation. We also were able to see a tweet that came out from Stuart Mandel and a couple others here that basically saw some of the stipulations in this deal, and let's just say they've been questioned so far. So the first tweet here was from Sam C. Ehrlich. He says, the long-awaited Manchin-Tuberville bill looks similarly awful. The players can't get medical expenses unless they graduate. Part is insulting. Forget pros who leave early for a second. Oftentimes not graduating is the fault of the school, but the athlete is punished for it, ? And then up here, Stuart Mandel says, Supreme Court in 2021, the NCAA is suppressing the pay of student athletes who collectively generate billions of dollars in revenues for colleges. And then the NCAA and Senator's proposal in 2023, 2 years later, no NIL deals until you've completed your first semester. What are we doing here? So I went ahead and got my face out the way here. Here's what we got here. So the draft, this is some of the things it has. It says prohibits an athlete from striking NIL deals until they have completed at least one semester of college. Now, very important to remember here, a lot of these really top flight players, they complete a semester in spring practice. So what they do is they graduate early. They typically take 2 English classes their senior fall season, and then they enroll January 5th, or January 20th of that next following year before the football starts in the fall in September. So they have typically one semester there. So what could happen is they could do that. They could sign, go through spring ball. Now, this is very interesting here because what if they sign with a school, have an NIL deal in place, they go through spring ball, they find out it's kind of a bust, then whoever the collective decides to pull that back. That could be a serious situation there. This would be helpful to the collectives, I suppose. But, again, would it be helpful to recruiting? I don't know. That's a weird situation. What happens if somebody signs in January and then they go through spring ball? It looks like they're definitely not going to start. And then they decide to enter the transfer portal. Is that a possibility? I have no idea. I know that's a question that might come up. So they have to complete at least one semester of college. It also says it requires all athletes to follow the standard template contract created by the NCAA. All NIL deals are to be reported to the school and the NCAA, including compensation packages, within 30 days of striking the deals. So remember here, so they said the striking the deals until they've completed at least one semester of college. So you talk about one semester of college done, then an additional 30 days, and then we'll find out what these players have been getting paid, or will be getting paid, I should say. And again, whether or not it's going to be retroactive, is that going to be back pay? That's a question I don't know. It also says here that it creates a centralized trust to, 1, support travel for athletes' families to events and cover out-of-pocket medical expenses for athletes. The trust is funded from, quote, any revenue-generating college-level tournament or playoff, such as the CFP or NCAA basketball tournaments. Each tournament must deposit at least 1% of annual proceeds into the trust. Long-term medical expenses extend until an athlete reaches 28 years old or 8 years after the date in which the eligibility of the athlete expires. The student-athlete must have graduated to be eligible for such medical coverage. And again, Sam Ehrlich says, hey, man, it's usually the school's fault when they don't graduate. No, if you've ever been around these athletes, it's usually their fault if they don't graduate. They're usually given in these remedial classes. They're given these basically just all you got to do is show up and you get a degree kind of a situation. So no, I don't buy that argument. I actually don't mind them basically. And again, one way to avoid the commoditization of college football, it already is being commoditized for the most part, is to make sure they graduate. I wouldn't mind if they had some sort of, trust or some sort of escrow situation with some compensation. You're not able to access it unless you graduate. That way, somebody who's already going to the NFL, they don't have to worry about it. Somebody who doesn't take college serious, goes through there for 2 years, drops out, they don't get access to it. But all the people who do the right thing, they go to class, they actually are a student athlete, they would get it. I don't mind that situation, but that's just me. Some people might have some disagreements. You get in the comments and let me know if you do disagree with that. And then last but not least, it says, includes a host of athlete includes a host of athlete prohibitions similar to the Bill Rockets bill, such as NIL deals promoting alcohol, gambling, or drug products. That's kind of a sanctity situation. I'm a free market guy. I don't really mind that whole situation. But again, that's me. There's a couple of really good questions in there. So for the NIL deals, should they have to complete one semester of school before they can get signed an NIL deal? That's what's on the bill. Don't get mad at me. Tommy Tuberville, Republican from Alabama, and then Joe Manchin, Democrat from West Virginia. They both came up with that. They also had a couple of other stipulations in there. You have to graduate in order to have access to some of the money that is in a trust. You have to make sure that you aren't able to sign deals revolving with, alcohol, booze, gambling, something to that degree. There's a couple rules they have there. We'll see if they actually go through, but I do know that NIL rules are coming. Whether or not they're going to be this bill or another bill, I don't know, but I know it is on the way. All right, guys, get in the comments right now. What do you think about this new bill? I'd like some of the things. I'm not sure about others of them. Get in there, again, check through that link. I'll make sure it's in the description here so you can go through that entire thread and see what you do like, see what you don't. Get in the comments and let me know that. But that is it for me, guys. I will see you guys later. I am out.